Live.
I mean, if my house gets destroyed, I'll just throw it in the back of the truck and head on over to yours. Right?
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, come on over, dude. It's good. I'm building a compound.
Rip the transfer switch out of the wall and bring it along with the ride too.
Yeah, we need an extra transfer switch because I can only have one according to permitting, and I want to hook up like 4 generators. That way we have yeah.
If this thing ever freaking loads. There we go.
I think we're live.
Slowly but surely. What is up, everybody?
That's cool. What's up, everybody? I don't have the stream pulled up on YouTube, so I don't even know.
It's live. I'm looking at it.
Oh yeah, we live. Ooh, your audio sounds crispy. Hunt, Daddy Diesel, what is up, my fellas? Two Dog Garage, Loki Games, Cliff.
Since he's our electrician, so
look at all these Break Clean Mafia members just strolling in.
Really?
Mr. Curry.
Awesome.
The hammer
What's up,
is
guys?
in contact with the center support of the receiver. From here, we're going to go ahead and install the safety.
Whoa, what am I hearing going on?
I don't know what the heck that was.
Sounds like he's listening to some bad stuff.
Some good bad stuff.
Zeekster. We are going to talk about something that I've been thinking about lately. The Superduty. You guys buy them. We all buy them. We use them. How do you use them? How does this thing serve you? I am your daddy. I want to know what you do with your truck. What are you working? How are you working it? Again, welcome everybody. Bill Beckett, what is up? The boys are back. We got the survivors. We're glad to have them back, everybody. We're going to talk some 4x4s. We're going to talk ESP. Ford Boss has a BBB story. He kind of wants to enlighten everybody, just kind of pass out some info, just if you didn't know. So, well, I guess DS Trucks. Let's start off with DS Trucks. He's awake. Let's get him. Let's get him in the beginning before he starts drifting off. He's got some big news.
Oh yeah, that.
And I don't want to say anything. I want him to relinquish the info, and if he's got to get some tissues, not for happy tears, but later he'll be set to go.
Yeah, just I had to make a tough decision here. My 450, and I really, as you guys know, I don't know if you guys follow DS Trucks, our channel, but we just got the 7.3 liter Godzilla, and I was gonna replace my older F250, but I had the 250 up for sale for a while. The market kind of changed a little bit over the last couple of weeks. I wasn't gonna get what I wanted to get for the 250. And I just kind of thought about everything and had a couple good offers come in from my 450 because that truck's really sought after. And I just thought about it, from a business standpoint, with the price of diesel and having this nice truck that I honestly haven't really used that much. It only had 20,000 miles on it. I decided to just go ahead and part ways with the 450 for now until, maybe
good service member.
Maybe down the road I'll get another one. But for now, I mean, the cost of fuel, everything kind of sucked. It was hard to do, but it is done.
Who did it go to? Like, what type of company did it go to?
So a lot of dealers honestly wanted to give me the same money. 80,000 I sold it for, but this guy was a Ford employee. He's a Ford employee. He didn't know about this podcast or anything. He didn't know about the channels or anything like that, YouTube or anything. He's just a guy that works at Ford, but he's got an excavation business on the side. And he's got like 33 years in skilled trades or something like that. 33 years in Ford and probably 20 years in skilled trades and excavation. So he he wants to pull a bulldozer and a mini excavator when he's
Right.
not at Ford. So, and I tried everything not to sell this truck. I'm like, it's been in a real bad accident. I'm like, it got a new frame. It's bad. Like
When I
it's
seen
real
that thing
bad.
on Saturday, it looked pretty damn good.
I know, dude. I didn't want to do it, but it makes more sense. I can get it. I'll be in a better position to get another one. I'll have this 250 paid off pretty soon because I've had it for a while. It's getting close to being paid off. So, once I pay it off, we'll see how the economy is looking, how fuel prices are looking. I'll see if I can get the new one when it comes out. So,
Dang.
You'll be set up pretty good.
yeah, I'll be in a better situation without so many payments.
Yeah. Yeah. What did Donna say?
Well, me and Donna fought over it quite a bit because this is one of the few times where she didn't want me to sell that truck. She know how much it meant to me. And I told her, like, I know you really want me to keep it, but rarely do I say this because you guys know I don't care about money. I'm always spending so much money.
Yeah.
But this is just one of those times where I know that it's the right thing to do.
So now you can
Because-
go buy that excavator that you had to give back.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Burn.
If you do, can I borrow it?
Well, I told her, like, this is the right thing to do for now. And then, give it a year. I can put an order in for a new one. And I never really have the new one right when it comes out anyway. So maybe that'll be a good thing if things are better by then. Because I think we're going into a lot of uncertainty with fuel prices and stuff as we go into the winter. I could be wrong, but I don't know.
Interesting.
I just hope I didn't make the wrong choice.
Mr. Big Shot. Mr. Big Shot. No more 450.
If it
Cool.
improves your balance sheet, you didn't make the wrong choice.
Hey, does that mean that whenever somebody mentions a certain gear set, we don't have to drink anymore?
No, because
Oh,
all the trucks have that
shit.
gear ratio. The
God.
250 has it and the 350 has it. I custom ordered both with it.
The one that I worked on yesterday when I pulled up the Oasis, it said it was a 7.3 F450 with 488s.
Yeah. All the cab chassis come with that.
Yeah, because you're right. It was a cab chassis, and then they had a dump bed upfitted and like all kinds of, I don't know, it was all kinds of stuff. And I noticed that bed light on a lot of the trucks that come in, the dummy light that's right there mounted on the dash, it'll stay lit up. And then I have to raise the bed back up and then raise it back down to get it to shut off because the pressure switch is not. But this one it wouldn't shut off. And they weren't concerned about it. But it just kind of bothered me that they weren't concerned about it because that light, I would see that light all the time while driving. That would bother me. It would just make me realize I'm not seated correctly or something's not installed correctly.
Poor DS. I got real in here in my ear. This guy's catching me off. Yeah, so no more 430 gears. Stay on that Derringer soon, fellas. Soon. It was going to be a pain in the butt. DS did send me some pictures. Had to take out all of his stuff and his plow mount and his lights and inverter.
Well, I hope I'm not making a wrong decision because if this 250 nickel and dimes me, then I could have I don't know. It's almost better to just not have that stress of constantly fixing on a truck. But
let me know when you want to do those manifolds. We can pull the engine out right there in the driveway. Maybe do it out in the street.
yeah, that's a toughie. Like, do I
Do
wait
it good.
and let it pop? Because then it can be an issue. Or do I get ahead of it and do it before, you know what I mean? Before it becomes because they look rough.
Rough.
I seen a guy today that he's got his own channel on the talk, and he said he has a customer that every 75,000 miles he'll buy a new CP4 and he'll just have it installed. He don't even wait.
What?
He just has it installed. He keeps his fuel filters and stuff changed religiously, but he doesn't wait for it to fail because he doesn't want to come out of pocket $14,000 for a new system.
I don't know if that's a good idea though.
Yeah, that's what he does. And he's got like 300,000 or 400,000 miles on that thing now.
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, that's really going the full mile with preventative maintenance.
Why don't he
No
do
doubt.
disaster prevention kit?
It's, I don't know, it's just what he's doing. I mean, that was just his choice. I mean, I didn't ask any questions because I thought to myself, huh, just like you did, preventative maintenance, I guess.
Unless you put one in that blows up right out of the factory.
Yeah, that
You
could
never
do it.
know what that's gonna
That could do it too, right?
We got a 350 2021 auto climate not working correctly. All other manual controls work. Climate not working as in like it's not functioning with the like auto temperature, or what do we got? More info. All other manual controls work. I just had one the other day that was kind of funky, but it wound up being what we were talking before we went live. Ford Boss had a client coming in.
Right.
And if you guys saw, we did a video with no heat on a YOUR where the cam actuator underneath the passenger side of the dash, you'll see a little black box, a little thin black box, and it's a motor, a little actuator that's moving a cam, that's moving a piece in the dash. So I know we've done a bunch of those, bunch of our fair shares.
The one I just did, I was able to verify that where the door comes out, it switches between hot and cold, it kind of blends everything. The little nub that's in it jumped out of the cam and went in the slot next to it and was binding up with that little centerpiece, and it was just only letting it move just a hair. So you were stuck with hot air all the time, or no heat. Actually, that's what it was, no heat. And I had to do the same thing. Same thing. It's normal. There's a, was it TSB or SSM on it? It says 2017 to 21. It's common.
Yep. He says when I turn the auto on, it doesn't blow any heat unless I put it on high. I'd be curious to see if there's any DTCs in the HVAC module.
Just change the temperature from hot to cold, get down on the passenger side and watch the cam, go look at Aaron's video and look and see if that cam is sweeping all the way. If it's just going just a little bit and then stopping, and then coming back, or if it's just this little motion and it's not moving all the way around like it's supposed to, I'd start there.
Yep, he says he watched it. Interesting. We got our first gas check-in, fuel check-in. We haven't done that in quite some time. Where you guys are, what's
it's went back up to normal now, like it was before. It went down, it was going down like 375, 371, and now it's back up to like 425, 435. I'm like, what the heck happened, man? It's all the summer fuel's gone, and now we're into this winter fuel.
349 here.
I got 513.
This is for diesel.
Diesel never really went down all that much here. Like the diesel guys really got stuck bad here. I mean, it went down 15, 20 cents at a time, where gas was dropping down like 70 to 80 cents, but diesel never, they didn't really help the diesel guys out here.
Yeah, that 48-gallon tank I had, filling that up. Oof.
I have a client who wants to do a 68-gallon S&B in his F450.
That's so cool.
Imagine
Dude.
filling that thing up and then programming the IC, and then it's showing 1,300 miles.
Yeah.
Whatever, 1,400 miles to empty.
That's funny.
Dude, I had so much fun putting that tank in with you. In the SNS disaster prevention.
Pretty cool. I think my favorite is to do the 20s. 20s, I really like taking the intake manifold off between the cowl and jerking around with the plastic and the fuel cut bowl and the hot side cack pipe. I don't know. I like doing the 20 intake manifolds better.
Yeah, I mean, the one we did.
But you saw how it flowed. You know, we just kind of worked our way in.
It was really quick, but that was
cool.
What year was that?
That was a 19.
You didn't like that?
Well, no, I'm saying after doing the plastic versus the new aluminum ones, I think between getting the tools back there, I think it's a little more easier to get the head of the long neck ratchet. Huh?
You didn't have to deal with that holes on the 19.
Yeah, but it was cool. I like those the HSM charger cooler pipes. They're a real nice component along with the upper fuel filter, and he actually did the mod that we did. You saw Cody and I do to our one customer's truck when we did the video for it. We put on the quick disconnect for the return line. So if you guys are interested in getting the HSM upper fuel filter kit and want to keep the 3 quick disconnects, if you reference our video in the description, I put all the information for the 3 pieces that you're going to need. The new JIC elbow, the male 4N, and then the quick disconnect, and all 3 of those pieces now enable you just to keep the 3 quick disconnects instead of using a wrench to take that AN fitting off. So looked really well.
Yeah, and also that lower cat filter, like switching that thing out for maintenance is gonna be so much easier.
Mm-hmm. Yep, notice a little oil inside the lip of the turbo, normal. Yep, Mr. New. I see a lot. I did one on a 22 antimatter blue, and it had, I think, 1,100 miles on it. And I was explaining to him and his father that the past vehicles I see have had this little lip of oil sometimes in the charger cooler tubes. So, they weren't really, they didn't know about it. So when I took all that apart, took a picture, sure as shit, on that rubber seal that you press into the lower intake manifold, it's got those little, fingers. It was just saturated with oil. The turbo lip right at the belly of it, it was saturated with oil. So a lot of that comes from the CCV, the closed crankcase ventilation, which is piped into the lower intake port right there, probably 3 inches ahead of the turbo. So remember, we were talking about that before. When you're standing in front of the engine, and you guys are standing in front of the engine right now, and you have EGR, you got your EGR cooler, the EGR, dry, sooty EGR is coming into the intake manifold here. And then you have this wet, moist CCV crankcase, and it's going into the lower intake. All this, and the air coming into the engine. So all this trifecta stuff goes right into the turbo, and then you just see all that stuff all over the charger cooler tubes, and especially behind the throttle body. You'll see that really get coked up and cause 402s and 20 EEs. And in the very beginning, what does it say, Cody? Check for intake restrictions. That means check for intake restrictions. You'll be surprised what you see, all because of that oil. It sucks, but it'll bite you.
Do you think that that system could be causing some oil consumption?
Potential,
Yes.
especially on the DRWs, I should say. There's a TSB for oil consumption, and it was to replace the CCV box. You'll take them things off and be heavy, saturated. Take the lid off, and that filtered be just about to blow up with oil.
Now,
Just
is that the older ones
nasty.
that have filters?
Pardon me?
Would that be the older ones that actually have the filters, or the newer ones?
Yeah, those ones. And they didn't have the filter no more. It was just kind of like a baffled box.
I bet that's why my F450 was using oil.
There was a guy that called in the other day, and they were trying to find that. He kept looking up CCV, the parts guy, CCV, and I said, you can't look up CCV. You have to look up separator.
Mhm.
Look up separator, and then it comes up. And then the guy was on the phone and he said, let me put you on speaker real quick because I don't know how to answer this guy's questions. And it was an older one with a filter in it. I was like, it's all swollen and stuff. It's all caked up and nasty. And the guy was like, yeah. He's like, I'm just trying to get the filter. And I was like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to just get the filter.
No.
Replace that whole box, man. Don't try to cheap out on that. And he was like, well, how much is it going to cost? And I think it was like, it's either $400 or $600 box. And he was like, oh, I don't know, man. The customer's got like not a lot of money and stuff. And well, sorry for you, but that's what you're going to run going through a dealer to get your parts. And if you want it, just upgrade the whole thing. Don't go that route. It ain't going to do you no good.
Yeah, a lot of guys are thinking because their 20 has like 5 bolt screw torques on the top that it has a filter, and it does not have a filter. It's filterless and is again got some baffles in it that's going to separate the liquid oil. You'll see the video that we just made where it drains into the front part of the valve cover on the driver's side, and through a port down into the sump. A lot of times when I take those off of cab chassis trucks, there'll be moisture condensation, kind of like milky, oily, sludgy kind of build up there in that port in the valve cover. So what do you want me to do?
Right.
And the bummer part about it is when we take these boxes off, I showed you guys my technique for taking that collar off. I have 100% success rate, and I show you guys how to do that. But Ford's procedure is to replace that box, so you can't even get the O-rings to put on the box in case you take that box off, because you got to take the valve cover off or whatever. You have to replace that box. I think it's kind of silly. Taking the collar off really isn't that big of a deal, but it's still something. If you do have the filter, I would be definitely staying on top of that and putting that into your maintenance regimen, just because a lot of guys don't know. Telltale sign for boss. What do you do to that oil cap? Take that thing off while it's running. If it comes off fine, no problem. But if it blows off your hand when you're taking it off, you have a clogged CCV. So you might want to first check your oil, probably because it's been eating oil, and 2, got to get a new filter in there. So, or replace it with a non.
Well, look at that 450 that we had. That one of the popular videos on my channel that went kind of nutty, where that 450 came in, and it was making like a straining, whining noise coming from the lower end of the engine. And when we checked the oil in that thing, it was so it's a 13 quart system. It's 10 quarts low. Literally had to put 10 quarts in this thing to get it to normal level. That's how low they ran it. The CCV was completely shot in this thing. It ruined the motor, and it needed a whole new engine in this thing. It was just shot, completely shot, all because of the neglect. Nobody was checking the oil. Nobody was keeping up on this stuff, and it was just eating oil.
Most of the time, it'll blow out the turbo seal.
Yeah, they had to get it. The turbo seal was gone. There was all kinds of stuff. It was like, when it was all said and done, I think it was close to $22,000 for everything.
We got a question for you, Ford Boss. What is the wait time now for a 6F35 transmission for an all-wheel drive 17 Escape? Saw the video of Ford Boss installing one in a 16 Escape. Beginning to think my dealer is ghosting me. Going on 4 months.
I ordered one at full price, not through warranty. I ordered one at full price through aftermarket warranty. And I had the transmission in a week and a half.
Buddy, you might want to call CRC and tell them your predicament. That would be the Customer Relations Center. You can Google it, find that number, and they can.
It just all depends though too, because there was a dude that just got a new engine for his Super Duty, and he posted a video on TikTok, and he made it into a pull truck. This guy's got like probably $150,000 in this truck total for the purchase of the truck plus all the mods. And he said he knew somebody at Ford and made a call, just like Aaron's telling you right now, call CRC. And he pulled some strings and said, hey, look, I'm really concerned. I need this engine. And they were able to get him one also within like a week and a half, 2 weeks, he had it. And they said that they didn't have an ETA for him. But when he called CRC up, it was like, so we'll just say 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, he had his engine.
Dang.
Squeaky wheel gets greased.
Dang. Speaking of wheel, the part that is on the end of your guys' wheel, how many of you all go down during your PM, during your walk around, during whatever you're doing, looking at your truck, and turn your 4x4 hub lockouts? How many of you guys forget to do that? I work it into my regimen every time I do service for my customers. Don't forget your grease Zerks 450. You got 11, 250, 350. You only got 2, but you need to actuate the 4x4 hub locks, and they always get corrosion in there and wind up not turning. But if we keep them lubed, well, I guess you could spray some lube in that crack and move it. But you know, that's the worst when you would need to use them and you're out there with pliers and trying to you get it to bust free, and you got a bunch of dust coming out from the crack in between the hub lockout and the part that you're spinning. So it's kind of a pain in the butt. But those things are like $400 a piece if you get them at the dealer. And it is something that you guys are probably going to wonder, is that going to be covered under warranty? 336, yes. If you have an ESP plan, your extended service plan, 4x4 hubs would be covered. Obviously, if you're going to meet the criteria between mileage and time, but they're expensive. And if you need them, you got to have them freely move, or you're not going to have 4x4.
I've had them covered by powertrain before.
I just made a video of showing you guys how to check 4x4 leaks and checking vacuum and whatnot. So I show you a little bit in there about that.
Look at the one I just did. There was like a 13 Super Duty, and the guy was complaining about the one I told you about, Aaron. It was real weird. We almost overlooked it. Luckily, I found it, and I thought about just regular checks right at the end, and I found out what was wrong with it. Somebody else diagnosed the truck, and the guy wasn't there, and then the repair got put on me. So they're like, you know, steering stabilizer, this whole steering linkage, the drag link, all this stuff. And I'm like, look, guys, I understand that that's what you want me to do, but I'm not a yes man all the time. I need to know why I'm putting these parts on this truck. I don't just throw them at me and say, tell me the story. And the guy says, well, the steering wheel is shimmying, especially coming out of a turn. It'll walk back and forth on its own. And if you're in the gas, when it starts to do it, sometimes it'll almost feel like a death wobble. So that's why they thought at first, you know, stabilizer, drag link, tie rod assembly. And I said, you know, I understand that that's where you guys are going with this, and I'll go ahead and do it because there is some wear in those components with this truck having 160,000 miles on it. I don't feel like that's what's causing the steering wheel shimmy, because the steering wheel shimmy and death wobble are two different things. You have to be able to decipher.
Correct.
Like, I did everything that they had me, that this other guy quoted out, and the customer did want all this stuff changed because there was some wear there. Went on a test drive, and it was still doing that with the steering wheel. And I pulled it up to the alignment rack, and I was like, dude, what could be going on here? And I'm looking at the truck, and I looked down at the hubs, and I was like, well, the driver's side's unlocked. And I go over to the passenger side, and it was locked. It was stuck. I had to go grab a pair of pliers, unlock it, lock it, unlock it, lock it, unlock it, lock it. Finally, I got it to free up, went for a test drive, and it quit locking up that hub. Coming out of a turn, just silky smooth. No more issues, no more problems at all.
So what do you do in that situation?
I unlocked it and let it go. Told the
So
customer
you
about
unlock it.
it. Just
You
unlocked
told
it.
me this whole time it was just that.
That was the main concern of what he's actually concerned with. But there were some other things going on with the truck because he was so new to the truck. He'd never checked anything out. The little tapping that was going on with the steering wheel, the little shimmy back and forth where you could hear the clunks from the tie rod assembly and stuff. And the little bit of play that was in the drag link wasn't enough to really cause the concern that he was dealing with. So, I told him, I was like, I unlocked your hub, I got it freed up, and I replaced the components that did have some wear. I mean, you can always come back, and I'm probably going to have to fight like hell getting these hubs out of here to change them. But I'll charge you a few hours, and I'll pull these hubs and stuff out, get everything cleaned up, and I'll get some new hubs and stuff put in. And he was like, no, if it's driving fine now, I'm just going to drive it like it is. It's like, you still have an issue going on here. It's going to have to eventually be fixed. And he didn't want to fix it.
Well, 6 to 8 will be a fleet go-to. I definitely agree with that. Absolutely.
And-
Well, he'll remember that next time he's got to lock his hubs in, and then
I have a
problem.
good video. I have a good video on a newer 20, or I think it was a 20 that was in an accident at highway speeds. And I got sent to the body shop. Everything was fixed, but they didn't know how to install the axle properly and the seal driver and stuff that you need, the right depth. Aaron, you know about all this.
Mhm.
And the special tool that we use and stuff. And when I went to go put the hub in and bolt it down, it wouldn't line up right because the splines were all messed up. And what I do is I take a diamond file and I start to straighten those splines back out as much as I can by hand. And I just put it on and drag it back, put it on, drag it back. And I keep until I get a nice clean starting point. And then I get like an 18 TPI fresh Sawzall blade. And I'll have a variable trigger and I'll set the saw blade down inside that channel where it's all boogered up. And I'll just sit there and I recut my mushroomed out channel, and I go to the next one, and I go to the next one, I go to the next one, and I clean it up, and then I dress it up with a diamond blade, and then I'll do it some more. I'll dress it up with a diamond blade, get it right back to factory, slide that hub right back in there, no problem at all. Pull it in, take it out, pull it in, take it out.
Dang.
And it's a trick that people can use without having to get new splines and knuckle assembly or whatever else you have to do. You can actually straighten that out if you're very patient and you use your library.
This guy just commented, that's patience.
Well, I mean, it's either you give me an extra hour of labor and I'll straighten all this up for you, or you're going to spend $300, $400, $500 on new parts. What do you want to do?
Right. A guy, where was it? Mr. Vince, he had a good worthy question, and it was kind of, where did he go? Mr. Vince. I'm gonna look for it. I should have been scrolled to it, but it goes fast. There he is. What do you think about the quality control now on newer Super Duties? Are you seeing more problems nowadays? It's pretty whack, and I know a lot of people blame COVID and all that stuff, and it has probably a great deal to do with it. A lot of people get butthurt. It is you can't do anything about working class America, but we're all humans, and that's what these vehicles are built by. So, with that said, obviously when you see one problem, is it one problem out of 800,000 trucks? Or do we have 500,000 problems out of 800,000 trucks? I don't think we're anywhere near that, but a lot of the issues that you see me talk about or show you is kind of, there's nowhere else you're going to see that kind of thing to keep your Super Duty in line with the latest stuff out. For instance, that 22 with the AC problem, and how close that harness was ran by that AC pressure transducer. Now every 7.3 that I have had since then hasn't even been close to that. So, was it a production thing? Was the guy putting it together, not paying attention? Did something hit that bracket when the marriage was happening, when the frame and body were coming together and just nobody saw it? You know, we got a fender liner. It's dark. I get it. I totally get it.
Here's
I don't know.
something else that people have to consider too. Well, I know a lot of people like to point the finger and say Ford's quality control sucks. Ford's quality control sucks. And I would agree to an extent, yes, because ultimately they are the ones that have their name on it.
Correct.
But when the manufacturer says, you know what, I think we need a new diesel. We need to come up with something that's more efficient and makes more power and all this other stuff. Let's go to the drawing board. So the engineer will come up and he'll write this stuff down and he'll create this. And this is my idea. And this is the design. And this is what I want this to look like. Or this is the type of transfer case or transmission. And this is what I need. That engineer is not building that. He's not pouring the mold for that. He's not building that part. Ford is not building that part. They will contract that stuff out to somebody like TRQ or Ray Bestis or like Borg Warner or somebody like that and say, this is what we need. You make it happen. This is what the engine is going to look like on the backside. This is what the transfer cases needs to look like as it goes up to the trans. I need you. I'm going to put this feeler out here and let's see who we start our contract with. And I need you to come up with something that's going to make my idea and design work. And they build the product. So the QC is not always coming from Ford themselves. It's other companies that are contracted out to make these components for Ford that send these parts once they're made in an agreement and everything. You know, they sign a paperwork. I need 100,000 of these or 200,000 of these, and they have their own QC. Ford, a lot of times, is not going to be able to come back and check every single thing that their quality control department at this other place that manufactured that part for them. They can't catch everything. So we don't know what's going on until the product gets put into the vehicle sometimes, and it's long past the testing phase. And then we see it at the dealership level. And then we're like, oh, wait, there's a problem here. Let's bring this up to Ford's attention. And then they're like, oh, wait, you're right. There is a problem here. So maybe we need to go back to these people that are manufacturing this for us to have them take a closer look into this batch of whatever it is that they made. And then we find that there's a quality control problem. We don't know right off the bat.
True. Yeah, I mean, it's between the time that these trucks get in service in the real world. Ford Boss, how many times do we see stuff come in? Like, you know, high mileage, you know, newer vehicle, for instance, this was a 22 with 35,000 miles on it, had 5 more hundred miles before it got out of a bumper to bumper. Like, dude, guys, cooking. Like,
Yeah.
man.
I mean, if you think about it, Ford only tests the full truck for 2 years.
Right.
They only test it like the full camouflage, full out, how it's going to be for 2 years. And that's it. They test powertrain for 4 to 5 years, but the actual complete body and everything's only tested for 2 years.
You know, I think instead of the Ford team, you know, going, I don't know where they're getting their information from, with how they're designing trucks or whatever. That's above my pay grade. But I think maybe they need to come down to the floor, the rock bottom, where these trucks are being used. Us, you, and really find out about the pros and cons, what you like, what you don't like, what would you change, and however they want to do that. I don't care if you hold a seminar or go to the Kentucky, wherever they were. I don't know. I think
They claim they do it, but how much of that is true and how much do they really do? They claim they do it. They do it.
I don't know.
You know,
I
a
think,
lot of places are taking what they get with the help and the workers that they're getting right now,
I
because
know.
there's more and more videos from business owners popping up on social media all the time. Hell, I felt like jaw dropped earlier where there was a construction guy that owns his own business, and he said, dude, I've been on this home for 3 weeks building this house. I've been putting out messages and wanted ads and everything. People saying that they're going to come to work. I'm going to pay them $30, $40 an hour to be here to help me. And these guys still don't show up. They still don't show up for work. They give me all the excuses in the world. I'm paying them top dollar to be out here with me. Then the ones that do, they do show up, they're drunk or they're not worth a darn. Can you imagine how many people have to work at these manufacturers and stuff like that are going through the same mindset, that are not there to do the job in the best interest of the person, you, the end user that's going to end up with the product? They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about clocking in at 7 o'clock in the morning and going home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Get it done.
They're definitely stressed out. They definitely have the turnover that everyone else is dealing with.
Yeah.
And we've just, ever since everything started up with the unemployment and stuff, we've been in a major labor shortage, and we were kind of in one before, even before everything got crazy. 2019, there wasn't a ton of labor around, but for me, I used to have a crew going and everything, but when all the unemployment come out, I had to have plenty of conversations with guys that I was hiring or guys that work for me, and they would just say like, "Hey, it's the best thing for my family right now to just be on unemployment. It wouldn't make sense to work." And
That's
then
the
like,
most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
plenty of
It's true,
conversations
though.
like that I've had. I've lost so many team members to the point
I
where
just
it's
can't
me.
believe that. Like, why would you want to be on unemployment? Are you for real?
Look at
Well, for a minute, they were doing $1,000 a week for unemployment at first, and then they did another
Man.
little thing after that, and then that kind of thing hurts the soul of the country because people
It-
get used to that.
Make more money sitting at home than working.
It
Well,
ain't
that's what they
cool
say.
unless you pee your pants.
you know,
Well, you
when
know
I,
what? Pee your
you
pants.
know, when I was in my apartment, I had a roommate and everything. Her sister told me that the reason she doesn't want to go back to work is because she makes an extra $800 every 2 weeks on the unemployment stuff than being where she worked. And I was like, but you're a supervisor. And she said, yeah, I know. They've been calling me back to work for 6 months and I don't want to go back to work. I make more money not working.
Yeah.
That's the mindset.
Wow.
And it's that, and it's I mean, look at the world that we live in today.
Awful.
Everything that you want will be brought to you tomorrow. If you want it, it's going to get delivered to you tomorrow. And all that service, it does come at a cost. So you've got a company like Amazon, maybe even like Walmart and stuff like that, but mainly Amazon. Those companies are out here soaking up a ton of our workforce. I mean, all of our young people, even young people work there and drive
Yeah.
delivery.
We had something delivered at 4 o'clock in the morning. A driver delivered our garbage bags that we ordered that we couldn't get. We wanted specific ones, but Amazon had them, dropped them off at the doorstep. We ordered them at 8 o'clock at night. They were there at 4 o'clock in the morning, getting dropped off at our doorstep. There's no other delivery service that delivers at 4 o'clock in the morning like Amazon does.
I think that operation takes a ton of manpower. And if you think about, 15 years ago, even 10 years ago, that whole thing didn't really exist. And if it existed, it not in the way that it does today. And I think the amount of manpower with that company coming in, being the largest employer, it took our workforce from being to the point where we had people who would be looking for a job. Now everybody's either got a job. Yeah, there's people that don't want to work, but they've either got a job. It's really in the hands of the laborer right now, the control. If that makes any sense. There's a ton of jobs. This company is soaking up a lot of them, being the largest employer.
Look at the people that just installed my pool. Now, I'm not talking bad about them because the owner of the company rectified it and he made it right. But the contractors came out, installed my pool. They went in my garage, grabbed my extension cord, didn't ask me to use any of my tools, left it drug out across the yard, left my wheelbarrow with dirt and sand and stuff in it, didn't ask to use any of that. They left stuff all over the yard. The sidewalk was covered in dirt and gravel and sand and stuff. They didn't clean any of that up. And then they made a mess where they were supposed to put the pile of dirt that they were leveling the pool at. And I asked the guy when I called him after everything was said and done, I called him to say thank you. I said, I apologize for being upset to begin with, but when I seen my own personal tools drug out and you guys didn't get permission to do any of that stuff, that kind of got under my skin. I would have did everything else, but he said, man, I'm having a hard time right now getting workers that are honest about what they do and care about what they do. I'm getting guys that they're barely wanting to learn the minimum. They're wanting to show up for a paycheck. They're not respecting homeowners and stuff like that. I'm trying to stay on top of them. And he said, I'm kind of having to take what I get right now because that's really all I'm getting.
You know, that this brings up a good statement you had made when we were on the pre-show about the BBB. And well, you just tell what you were.
So
what you were.
this is a pretty serious situation. I mean, when you get, it's a 21 platinum expedition, and this lady has some intermittent issues that's going on with this thing that seems to be haunting her, and she's been to multiple dealers. And she got so frustrated with going to dealers to get this thing fixed under warranty that she was like, you know, I'm to the point now where I'm ready to get the Better Business Bureau involved, and I'm ready to get Ford Corporate involved, and I want this thing gone. I don't want this vehicle anymore. And one of the concerns was, I'll just go over their concerns quickly. The alarm, the parameter alarm is not setting. Sometimes it'll be fine once it goes to the dealer and you guys get it to work. But then 2 or 3 weeks later, it just randomly stops working. It'll be like for a week, you can go up and shake the car and everything else, and it just doesn't work anymore. My tires, she says, my tires are unbalanced. And I'm like, how does she know that? The tires are unbalanced? But anyway, that's a concern on there. And when the Better Business Bureau gets involved, regardless of how silly the concern is, it's still a concern, and it still has to be addressed by a professional. It can't be a semi-skill. It has to be a senior tech in the shop with the FSE on that vehicle, addressing every single concern that has been written down that the Better Business Bureau is tracking. So today,
that was Pat's course, right? And he goes,
today I made sure the intrusion.
Right?
Sorry.
You good?
Yeah, we're good.
Today I made sure the intrusion sensor and stuff was working. I don't think she quite understood how it operated, that when the alarm is set or when you lock the vehicle, you have a delay period so you can get away from the vehicle, take your stuff off the hood if you put something there or whatever it may be, and then step away from the vehicle. If you go to the workshop manual, it says it's a 20-second delay from the time you lock the vehicle until it goes into full security parameter. I don't think she realized that, but she said it doesn't matter. Even 30 minutes later, you can come out to the vehicle and the alarm doesn't set. So I verified at this time that it works. Pulled the tires off of the vehicle. All 4 tires were balanced, but the front 2 tires did show a road force that was a little bit out of Ford spec. And I think Ford spec on the Expedition and their truck line is like 25. Well, the road force was at 29 and 26. I went ahead, broke it down, road force the tires down to 7 and 9. Normally you won't get a truck or like a truck that low, but I was able to get this truck that low. All 4 tires, 7 and 9, put them back on the vehicle. And then the FSE, he's with me. He says, okay, we need to move on to the next thing now. We've got the intrusion thing. We verified it does work. We verified the tires are now balanced now. There was 2 of them that were not road forced properly, which they're not going to be road forced anyway. He just threw that in there as a perk to her to make her happy. And so we did road force the 2 that were not in spec. And then went on to like a seatbelt issue. And Expeditions, the rear 3rd row seating, there's a seatbelt that comes out of the roof for the and it has a child seat latch in it on it as well. Well, the way it mounts up on the roof, there's a magnet plate that the big seatbelt buckle part, or the seatbelt latch, or what do I say, buckle or latch? The buckle. It attaches to the magnet plate, and then the child latch goes up into the roof into a little slot, and it's held in by a plastic pressure tab. It's just a piece of plastic that's glued to the back side of this, and it holds the seatbelt buckle there. Well, they had already had it replaced once, but now it's back again. The child latch is dropping out of it, dangling in the back of the vehicle and stuff as they're driving, and it's broke again. So you can imagine these little things are starting to add up that she's starting to really get irritated about. So I pull the panel and stuff down, and I'm looking at the plastic tab, and I see some of the glue is actually broke away, and there's a little bit too much play, and that's why it's causing it. So I'm thinking to myself, is this a technician error? Because I'm sure the technician didn't have a reason to break this thing again after he just installed it, because it's been replaced once. Or are the children in the back of this thing trying to shove the big buckle where the little one goes, and they broke the tab on it or pushed it away some? Because you can eventually get it to fit in there, and it won't break it completely, but it will stress it to the point where it becomes loose. So I ordered the new piece. It's on the way. It's coming national, so it's 3 days out. So then I start getting into the concerns of, she says, park to reverse. There's a clunk, reverse to drive. Sometimes there's a clunk, drive back to reverse. There's like a shift kind of clunk thing. And if you guys know about the 10-speed transmissions, they're not very forgiving. The CDF drum, if you read somewhere in the workshop manual, the trans guy says there is some characteristics that it does explain about the 10R80 CDF drum, where there is going into gear. And sometimes even on startup, there is a little bit of a clunk tap kind of thing going on there. But it sometimes doesn't happen until the vehicle's warmed up. So I ran a program strategy for the solenoid ID, and then reprogrammed the solenoid strategy in. And then it says, if you follow the SSM, clear adaptive, and then go relearn the drive cycle. So when did that, when it came back, shifting real nice, no more issues and stuff, no more clunking in between. Very, very, very nice. No grinding, no nothing like that. So there's a list of like 10 or 11 concerns, but actually what's on my RO is only 9. So I'm talking to the customer on the phone, and I'm kind of going, my service manager trusts me to talk to the customers because I'm very articulate when I explain things. And he said, would you give her a call and talk to her, because you are the tech that worked on it, and I trust you to communicate these things. And you were on it with the FSE all day. I was kept out of it. Because the FSE, whenever the technician makes a repair, he's not the one actually verifying it. So after I cleared adaptive strategy and all that other stuff, and I printed off the criteria to relearn that trans strategy, I take that paperwork and I give it to the FSE, and then he goes and drives the vehicle. And he makes sure each one of those relearned strategies are met while he's out. And then he comes back, and then we re-verify that it fixed it, or it did fix it. So the FSE is not doing a lot of hands-on stuff when you're going through this BBB thing. You're the one doing the hands-on stuff. You're the one pulling panels and verifying that this is the right spec and everything else. He's only doing the computer work side and actually driving the vehicle to verify that the concern has been fixed, or if there's driving, he will make sure that it's met perfectly. And the process took probably 3/4 of the day. It was very stressful, because now you're dealing with an $80,000 vehicle, $100,000 vehicle, whatever it may be, that is now in the Better Business Bureau's hands. And they're trying to make sure that Ford's doing everything that they possibly can to make sure these concerns are met and fixed. Or do we have a problem here, and the customer is going to have to relinquish the vehicle back to you, and you have to pay them back for the vehicle? So then one of the concerns on this thing was, while towing, the vehicle jiggles a lot. The vehicle jiggles and sways a lot. So when I was talking to the customer, I said, so when you're towing with this, what are you towing? She's like, oh, we tow a 29-foot travel trailer with it. And I'm like, huh? Yeah, 29-foot travel trailer. Yeah. Are you guys going like, I was like, 29-foot travel trailer, like a big, like home, like you live in while you're camping, or you're going to be gone for a week or something like that. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, with an expedition?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the trailer outrate the truck?
You know, so this is where I'm going with that. Regardless if that trailer is going to outrate that truck or not, 29 feet is so long behind a half-ton platform, you know, and an expedition doesn't have an extremely long wheelbase. I mean, they're pretty long overall, but they're nothing to brag about and say that it can actually take up for a lot of that slop and stuff like that. And wind blowing on this thing and 29 feet behind it, I'm like, 29-foot travel. I mean, that thing can probably take it, no problem at all. But I wouldn't put a 29-foot trailer behind an F-150 and feel comfortable. I mean, I'd have to have like a 3/4 ton or above to even feel like, you know, I'm safe with what I'm doing. But they're gone for long periods of time and traveling in the mountains and everything else and high wind areas and all this other stuff. And I'm like, wow.
I don't know about that.
I don't
don't know,
think
but I
an
mean,
expedition can even tow as much as a 150.
But the
Well-
salesman said it'll do it.
yeah, and well, she said, well,
Right.
Sure, they did.
she said, well, that's what, you know, Ford said we should be able to. I said, what do you mean Ford said? Do you mean the salesman that sold you the vehicle? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, do you know what the GVWR or did you read inside the door sticker or any of that stuff to like do some math on like this, the size of your vehicle and then the size and the weight of the 29-foot trailer, and then taking a consideration that you're going to be loaded down, this thing's going to be loaded down, and you've got like standard suspension on this thing. I know it's a platinum and you would expect it to do very well because of the name platinum, but most of these guys that run these, if they're going to tow something that big, they'll upgrade their rear sway bar and link suspension to like a Hellwig or something like that, or whatever it may be. They're not running stock factory stuff on this and expecting to get top performance out of it. If you're going to be going
no.
I think
with a
is, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Expedition is an independent rear suspension.
I think it's something like that. I
Yep.
don't know. Yeah,
Not a-
it
not an
is.
excellent rear. That
Did
thing's
they
only
at least
rated to
run a
tow.
weight distribution hitch?
No, standard.
Oh, okay.
That's wild.
No, thanks. Coil springs, independent rear with no weight distribution hitch on a 29-foot trailer. No thanks.
Well, and
Got a
that's what I
big
told her.
pair.
Well,
I was
yeah,
like,
well, it says it tows 6,000 pounds, but that's a quick Google search on the Expedition. That's
I
not
actually
very.
had the chart. I can't find it on this laptop, but
Well, I
I had
told
it
her
for the
without
F-150
me-
and the Expedition.
without us getting too technical and all that, I said, ma'am, I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything like that, but this vehicle is not going to do what you
Mhm.
want it to do. I hate to be the one to tell you that. And she's like, well, we kind of figured that after we tried to use it a few times to pull this trailer, and it just wasn't going to do it. So we sold the trailer. What? Why didn't you trade this thing in to get what you wanted so you can do it? Well, we need a big Expedition like to do. Well, then you're not doing that with a 29-foot trailer. I'm sorry.
They need an
It's
excursion, but they don't make them no more.
it's not going to happen. You're going to have to start working on beefing up some stuff and everything else, or I don't know what to tell you, but your application that you're trying to use it for, I know I'm not your salesman, but I'm just not.
I don't
I'm
know
just
what to tell you.
Well,
Telling
this
you.
process. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm told there's totally a market for 6-door dually diesel SUVs.
Yes.
They need to make them. I'm telling you, there is a market for that. They just need to make it, and people will buy it.
Excursion. The new Illuma Duty Excursion.
I feel you on that. That would be
I want
nice.
to show
That'd
you
be
something. I'm
cool.
trying to
So
find this.
this whole process went like 3/4 of the day, and then the FSE, he got what he needed. He got a printout of all my stories that I wrote up and all the things that I did, and documented everything as we were going line by line. And then he took that because now he's got to go spend time and fill out a ton of paperwork for the Better Business Bureau and everything that we went through today. And as I'm talking to the customer, she's like, oh, they already did the adaptive, like relearn and all that other stuff at the other dealer. 2 or 3 weeks from now, it's going to come back and it's going to start clunking again. And then, so we've already been there. But at least in your story, you verified the clunk. And I was like, well, yeah, I did. I put in there that I did verify something was up. And you did verify that the plastic thing in the back wasn't holding the child thing. Yes, I did. And you did verify that you did do something to the tires because something was off. And I said, well, yes, I did. And she was like, well, I just need a few things that like you actually verified that I'm not going crazy, because it does support my case and getting it bought back better. Even if like everything can't be verified, it still helps me a little bit. And I said, well, I'm not here to make you out to be a liar. I'm here to do my job correctly as the tech and with Ford, and not do either one of you wrong, and to be 100% honest about everything that I do. I cannot lie to make it your situation perfect. I cannot lie to help you in the most utmost instant that you have the best possibility of getting this thing bought back. I have to do my job. And I explained that to her, and she was like, well, did you check the washer pump? I was like, what do you mean the washer pump? There's nothing on here about the washer pump that you had a concern. And she was like, oh, that service writer, I told him to put it on there. And I was like,
Crying out loud.
here we go with service writers. What's wrong with the washer pump? And she was like, well, there's 2 things that I'm concerned with, actually, not just the washer pump. One thing is How come when I deflate my tires down to 20 PSI and drive down the road, I'm not getting a notification on my Ford Pass app that my tires are low? What are you looking for? What are you looking for? Why are you trying to find things about this vehicle that are purposely want to? She's like, well,
She's not doing that while towing the trailer, is she?
No, this is like, no, listen to me. There's a point. Some people will do things like this to draw up a case. And I'm not saying this is the case with her. Some people will do this type of stuff to make the situation seem as bad as possible. So when they have buyer's remorse or, $1,200-$1,400 a month payment on something, they just realize we can't afford it. And this is not what we needed to do, what we wanted it to do anyway. They will do whatever it takes to create as much chaos to make it seem like their situation is as bad as they say it is so they can get out of it. Why are you deflating your tires trying to figure out why your Ford Pass app is not saying that your tires are low?
But it's got to update anyway.
How did you know? How did you know to even do that?
How much money you think that truck costs a month? Just guess.
About $1,300 to $1,400. I know it's somewhere around there.
Hey, Rich, I got to ask you a question.
Yeah.
You didn't show her the reset button inside, the recirculation button? It resets everything, remember?
Who was that last time we were on here? We said that.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Just reset to default. Problem
No,
solved.
so I said, look,
she's in the hole. Being that the truck's so much money, you drive off the lot, you're in the hole.
Yeah, I mean, but I started digging more, and I was like, so I broke your tires down earlier. And I did notice that when I put the tires and stuff back on, the front right tire did not trigger the PSI right away as an update. It said 0. So technically, if you are right and the Ford Pass app is not picking up your low tire pressure, there's something called VHA. And I don't think any dealer has checked that VHA so far. And I know the FSA didn't check the VHA today while he was here. I'm going to go check the VHA right now while we're on the phone. So I go back, type her VIN in Oasis, pull up the vehicle health report. And I'm like, yeah, it triggered the low tire pressure today when I deflated the tires. Are you sure you're triggering the low tire pressure? And because I have a whole entire history for 2 months back of everything that's been set in this vehicle. And there's not one single time other than today when I triggered the low tire by doing the road force and stuff that it actually set a low tire light. Huh. That's kind of odd. When she got a little quiet, she didn't know what to say after that. And then I started looking into the last 2 months of history. And I noticed since August 8th, looking at this vehicle health report, there has been a consistent code being set in the system over and over and over again, multiple times a week for low battery voltage. And I was like, you said something about the infotainment system acting up sometimes, and then the TPMS system would act up sometimes, and it would shift weird and stuff like that. Low battery voltage does do something to the PCM, TCM, sync system, all that stuff. And they can act funky when that stuff happens. How long did this vehicle sit before you bought it? Before it was delivered? And she said it was sitting for 3 months before it was delivered to us. Wait a second. Wait a second here. Back in detective mode. I bet you when somebody got this thing up and running and the battery charged and everything else, nobody went back into the system to reset this BMS. I bet you nobody checked the battery health of this thing since it's been sitting so long. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to reset the BMS. I'm going to charge the battery to full capacity, load test it and everything else. And we're going to see where we're at. This whole entire process, when you want to go through the Better Business Bureau, when you want to do your lemon law stuff and all these other things, people think they can just snap their fingers and it just happens that easy. None of this stuff is easy at all. And it's so freaking stressful, man. The customer's stressed, the FSE's stressed because he's trying to verify all his stuff. And let's just say this lady is right. Today, we were able to rectify all of the things that she was concerned with and make it seem like it was all brand new again. Let's just say she is right. 3 weeks from now, it acts up all over again. She's got to build a paper trail for months of having this thing come back to the dealer over and over and over and get this documented before anything can even be done to buy this thing back. It is
a paper trail.
Then the best thing is you're not going to get paid all the money that you paid for the vehicle. You're gonna get what do they want to call it? You're gonna get a deduction. It's not going to be what you paid for it.
This whole situation is a freaking nightmare, man.
Well, I mean, you buy a platinum. It's a platinum expedition, right?
Yeah.
So you go in there, you say, let me get the best one. It's, I don't know how much they cost, 100,000. Let's say 90,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, there are some issues here with her car. It's not behaving like a $90,000 car.
Right.
You know, is it the worst thing in the world? It's kind of one of those things. It's like, hey, you realize what times we're living in right now. Like, chances are you get a vehicle, it's not going to be perfect. You know, you got to work. Even me, I had to work through some bugs with this 7.3 I just got. Not everything didn't work as soon as I got it.
Cameras didn't work.
Yeah.
Well, that dude on that radon guy on TikTok, he just tagged me in the video the other day. He was like, I'm kind of like, I hate to say this, Ford boss, but I'm kind of done with Ford. And he goes down the line and he was like, there's my F450, there's my F450, there's my F350, my F350, there's all my transits, there's my Transit Connects. And he says, honestly, I'm over it. And then I have my Super Duty, what's the tremor package. And he said it was in the dealer the first time for water leaks, and they found something in the front left quarter panel by the emblem getting water. It was leaking water inside, and they sealed everything up. And now here we are a month later, and it's leaking again somewhere else, and it's wet inside the vehicle again, and it's back in the dealer again. It's been there for like 2 or 3 weeks now.
Jeez.
And they still don't. And he said, then the AC stopped working in the Transit Connect twice. They had to fix that. And then the Transit's getting water on top of the ignition coils and stuff like that. And they were supposed to have updated that in these newer Transits where that doesn't happen. And the F450 rear end, and then the transmission grinding and making all kinds of noise. And then he says, well, let me show you my new baby. And he pans over to this like 21 or 22, like 3500 HD, Chevy, blah, 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 or whatever. And his first video that he posted today after he showed me that, he says, damn it, I cannot win for losing. This thing has got 600 miles on it. I'm going down the road and I go to plug in my laptop to the AC port for your household stuff that you can plug in through the truck. And the damn thing doesn't even work. You know what I replied to him in the comment section? Get used to it. At least we're not, or get used to it. And then I replied with another comment. Yeah, they're actually 10 times worse than us. So I'll be seeing you on your future videos.
A lot of guys comment that, Ford sucks. Now they're falling on the road dead. Hey, newsflash for you. The FCA and Chevy techs, they're just not around sitting against their toolbox twiddling their thumbs. They're working too. And there's no other place on the internet where you're going to find the material, if you have a Ford vehicle, to take care of it as best you can, as you do here. Ford bosses, CPs, and Bearded Ford Tech, we all have a bunch of stuff that you can come to and look and find out a wiring problem, or your seat doesn't work, or maybe before you put an engine in your truck, maybe turn the IMRC servo off.
Yeah.
It's pick your poison. You're going to go to the Chevy dealer and the FCA dealer with that big horn Laramie power wagon, big old hips.
Have transmission failure within 10,000 miles, and no drive, no reverse, electronics shutting down. Yeah, they're. That's what I had explained to this lady today on the phone too. She was like, "Well, maybe I'll go look at like the new Tundra or something like that and see if they'll let me." I said, "The new Tundra. Do you not realize that everything that has to be done on that truck, it has to be cab off? You cannot do anything on that engine with the cab on it. The cab has to come off for every single thing that you do on that thing. The turbos are tucked up underneath the sides of the engine. They're leaking coolant. They're leaking oil and stuff. The inside of the cab, people are reporting are all chattery, and in the ride is rough. The power doesn't come on like they claim it does. So yeah, you can go ahead and do that, but you do understand that that's not the old classic 5.7 iForce or whatever. Isn't that what it's called? 5.7 iForce or something. It's not. That's not the engine they're using anymore. It's not in that line anymore. So yeah, you can go ahead and do whatever you need to do. But I'm telling you, no matter where you go, you're gonna find some kind of issue right now with a new vehicle that you buy, because that's, I hate to say this, that's kind of what we're living through right now.
It is. That's the truth. That's why we do what we do here on the channel. Everybody on here tonight, we like what we do. We like helping you get your vehicles back on the road, and we like to help you guys save money and learn. That's what our main focus here is for people to learn, to teach. We have so much knowledge and tricks and stuff and things that we've seen that it's just kind of 430 gears. Cheers. It's kind of selfish to keep all that stuff to ourselves. So that's why we have a plentiful, bountiful catalog that everybody should celebrate. And yeah, enjoy working on your Super Duty. It's fun. I love them, the trucks. They're my favorite. So without further ado, I want to thank everybody in the comments, everybody coming out, checking us out. Friday, we got another banger for you. Yeah, let me know. We didn't talk about it. We will hit it. I need to do a video on it because I want to pick some ones out. But shocks. What are we doing? I need to pick some. If you guys know anybody who has a reputable shock distributor, drop me a line. FBM DS made it all the way.
Yay.
Everybody.
I don't know. I thought we were losing him a little while ago.
He was. Oh wait, hold on. I think he's got a Tupac. What do you call it? Holographic. We got a DS holographic.
I was trying to be as cool as possible.
All right, everybody. I appreciate you. CP, Bearded Fortech, Rain Man. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you next time.